It started the night before Christmas, when the air outside bit sharp through the cracked windows, and the scent of cinnamon danced with something darker. Burnt wood, maybe grief. Lena had been alone in the house since morning. The pie was cooling on the windowsill untouched. The kitchen had been spotless until she started wiping the same counter for the 5th time. Her hands moved on instinct. The clock had just touched 9 when the front door jolted open, slamming hard enough to rattle the frame. Still awake, came the voice, rough, slurred, too familiar. Jamie stood there. Her son, his coat half draped off one shoulder, his eyes bleary and red, a crooked smile pulling at his face. She didn't look at him. She just kept wiping. He dropped his keys. They clattered to the tile like a warning. I had a drink. Maybe 2, he mumbled, dragging his steps toward the kitchen. You should loosen up, Ma. It's Christmas. You promised you'd be home for dinner, she said, her voice a whisper, not cold, just tired. Jamie laughed, a low, bitter sound. Dinner? You mean that sermon with mashed potatoes? Come on. You said you'd be here. Yeah, well, he shrugged, pulling a bottle from inside his coat. Plans change. His smirk twisted. Want a sip? Might make you less righteous. She didn't respond. He snorted. Still boring. Jamie wandered over to the pie and stuck his finger in the crust, pulling a chunk and shoving it into his mouth. You made this for me? For us, Lena replied quietly. He chewed with his mouth half open, dry. Her hands clenched the cloth. Her knuckles paled. Jamie pointed at a wrapped box near the flickering Christmas tree. That mine? Yes. What is it? You'll see tomorrow. He took another piece of pie, speaking through crumbs. Always with the rules. Even your gifts come with lectures. Someone has to have rules. His laugh this time had no joy in it, only heat. You just love being in charge. I'm 43, Ma. Not 12. Then stop acting like you are. His fork clattered against the plate. There it is. That tone. You always talk down to me, like I'm broken. Lena said nothing. The room thickened with silence. Say it, Jamie growled. Say what you always think. That I'm a disappointment. Her eyes glistened, but she didn't flinch. You're lost, she said. That word broke him. His eyes sharpened, the kind of look that meant the next minute would be different from the last. He took one slow step forward. You think you're better than me. No, Lena whispered. You do, Jamie hissed. You run this house like a courtroom, like everything I do is under your judgment. I think you need control of yourself. His breath was whiskey and fire. Control. Always that word. Control. Jamie, she said calmly, go upstairs. Get some sleep. Don't tell me what to do, he barked. He circled the table now, closing the distance. Go. I said don't. He stopped in front of her, casting a shadow so tall it swallowed hers whole. You think you can talk like that to me now that Dad's gone? Enough. He raised his voice louder now. You never respected me. Never. Not once. You're my son, she whispered, trembling slightly. He leaned closer. His voice dropped into a venomous softness. No, I'm your project. Her chest rose. Stop. But he didn't. You want to fix me? Huh. Fix this. His hand moved fast. A blur. A thud. Lena gasped, a sound so small and sharp it barely escaped her mouth. The sting bloomed across her cheek like fire. A ceramic cup shattered on the floor near her foot. Jamie froze for half a second, then said, soft, almost sweet, almost cruel, You made me do that. She didn't move. Not a blink. He stepped back, dragging his hand down his face. You talk too damn much. You always push. You never listen. Lena touched her lip. Blood. Thin and real. Jamie kept going. Now maybe you'll finally stop. He turned, swaying, heading for the stairs. Don't wait up, he muttered. I'm done talking. The steps creaked under his weight. Halfway up, he stopped, looked back. You'll wake up tomorrow and pretend like none of this happened. You always do. Got it? She didn't answer. His finger pointed down at her. You hear me? She looked up, eyes fierce. Go to bed, Jamie. He laughed again. A hollow sound. Good night, Mom. Merry Christmas. He disappeared into the hallway. A door slammed. The house swallowed the noise. Lena stayed still. The spilled cocoa spread like ink across the white tile. The Christmas lights blinked. Once. Then again. Then dimmed. She touched her cheek, hot and swollen. Then walked to the sink and let the water run cold over her hand. Red, spiraled down the drain. She didn't cry. She didn't scream. She picked up the towel, cleaned the counter again. The motion was her anchor. When the room gleamed again, she sat in the same chair. Her reflection shimmered faintly in the window, half red, half pale. I'm glad you're here, she whispered, not to the room, but to the eyes behind the screen. Please like and subscribe to my video. She looked down at the wrapped gift, then slowly reached forward, turned it over and slid it into the drawer. Not yet. The house groaned in the wind. Upstairs, one loud stumble, then silence. She turned off the lights and walked to her room, but didn't lie down. She sat at the desk, pulled out her husband's old notebook. Harold's handwriting still waited there, steady and clean. On the bottom of one page, a single line. Never react. Record. She read it twice, maybe 3 times. Then she picked up the pen and wrote, December 24th. He hit me under the Christmas lights, but I didn't flinch. The ink soaked into the paper like it knew the truth. She closed the notebook. The mirror nearby showed her face. Older, colder, but not weak. She touched the bruise, just enough to remember it was real. Then she whispered, enough waiting. In the next part, Lena makes a pie. But this time it's not for peace, it's for witness. The oven hummed to life. Flour spilled across the counter like snowfall, dusting the shadows beneath Lena's eyes. Her hands worked quickly, measuring, peeling, slicing. Apples thumped gently onto the cutting board. Cinnamon filled the room again. Not sweet this time, but sharp, like memory. She moved without hesitation. Each motion practiced, clean. Her heartbeat, however, was loud. As she folded the butter into the dough, her eyes flicked toward the kitchen clock. 12:47 a.m. Not too late to make a call. Not too early to change everything. She turned down the dough, wiped her hands on the towel, and stared at the phone. Names ran through her mind, like a roll call of those who had never failed her. 3 names. 3 she trusted not to flinch. First, Marie. A friend, yes, but also a lawyer. The kind who read every word twice and trusted nothing without a signature. Second, Sheriff Caleb Reeves. A man who had once told her, justice isn't loud. It's the man who listens when no one else does. Third, Ruth. Her sister. Quiet, soft-spoken, but loyal like stone. The kind of woman who held her breath until others were done falling apart. The oven beeped. Lena slid the pie in, the crust golden even before it browned. She stood still for a moment, watching it. A pie for memory, she thought, but not mercy. The cocoa stain from earlier was still faint on the floor. She didn't scrub it out, just set the kettle on and waited. The kitchen light felt too bright. Her cheek throbbed under it. She poured water, sat at the table and stared at the clock. 1:52. Jamie would sleep heavy now. He always did after drinking. He wouldn't dream. He never did. But she was dreaming wide awake. The phone felt heavier than it should, but her fingers didn't hesitate. She dialed the first number. A sleepy voice answered after 2 rings. Marie Brenner speaking. Hello? It's Lena. A pause, then a voice shifting into full clarity. Lena, what happened? I need you at breakfast. Silence. Then, is everything all right? No, Lena said, but it will be. Marie didn't ask questions. I'll be there. Lena hung up. The next number. Sheriff Reeves. It's Lena Walsh. Another pause, then a low voice. Ma'am. I need you at breakfast. Bring your report pad. Understood. The third. Ruth's voice cracked through the line. Lena? It's 3 in the morning. I know. What happened? Just come. Bring your heart. My heart. You'll see. The call ended. Lena sat back, the air still thick with cinnamon. Her cheek ached, but she didn't touch it again. She didn't want to feel it, not now. Not until it was seen by someone else. She looked toward the hallway. Silence. Good. She opened the drawer, pulled out Harold's notebook again, and read the last line. He hit me under the Christmas lights. But I didn't flinch. Below it, she wrote, 1:59 a.m., witnesses called. Proof in progress. She placed the pen down carefully. The pie cooled beside her. The air tasted like choice. She stood and opened the pantry once more. The same ingredients, the same bowl, the same motions. But this second pie was different. It wasn't made for peace. It was made for presence. Each slice of apple was deliberate. Each drop of sugar measured like evidence. She thought about Jamie as a boy, how he used to run around this kitchen with socks too big and dreams too loud. She thought of Harold, how he would fold napkins into perfect squares and hum Christmas carols under his breath. She thought of what they'd both say if they saw what had become of this house, this family. By 3:08, the second pie was in the oven. By 3:13, the call list was complete. And by 3:15, Lena had done what most women never did. She'd chosen herself. Her breath was calm, her voice steady, and her hands still working. In the next part, the guests arrive, but they're not here for breakfast. They're here for truth. 3:45 a.m. The second pie had cooled, its scent rising warm and quiet through the house. Lena stood by the table, her eyes fixed on the cocoa-stained napkin she'd placed beside Jamie's untouched cup. The living room sat still, except for the blinking Christmas lights, duller now. Less festive, more ghostly. She opened the small drawer beneath the phone. Inside, Harold's old ring, a pen, a blank envelope. The ring slipped onto her finger like it had never left. She picked up the pen and wrote a single sentence. Jamie, I will no longer protect you from consequences. Tomorrow, you will see what truth looks like in daylight. Mom. She sealed the envelope and slid it under his cup, letting it rest like a verdict. 4 a.m. The house breathed its silence. Lena sat again, hands folded, spine straight, her bruised cheek lit gently by the flicker of the Christmas lights. Each second was deliberate now. Each breath, each thought. 4:15, headlights flashed across the window. She didn't flinch. Marie Brenner, always early, always precise, the kind of woman who never needed permission to speak, but always waited until it mattered. Lena opened the door before the knock came. Marie stepped inside, her coat already unbuttoned, eyes sharp but soft. She set her folder down on the table like a gavel. You sure? She asked quietly. Lena nodded. No more waiting. Marie looked at the cocoa cup, the notebook, the pie. Everything ready. It has to be. Marie pulled out a chair, smoothing her skirt as she sat. She glanced once at Lena's face and exhaled slowly. You should have called sooner. I was waiting for it to mean something. Marie's jaw tensed. Well, it means something now. They sat in silence for a moment. The sound of the oven, cooling, filled the background like a heartbeat. Then came the second car. Snow crunched beneath boots. Sheriff Caleb Reeves entered with his hat in hand, his badge half covered by his thick winter coat. His eyes scanned the room once, and then they settled on Lena's bruised cheek. He didn't react. Not outwardly. He just nodded. Ladies. Sheriff, Lena said. He walked over to the table, set down a small notebook, and took a seat beside Marie. You want me in uniform or neutral? He asked. Neutral, Marie said. Lena nodded. Then we'll do it clean. He pulled out his pen and opened his notebook to a blank page. Voluntary domestic report initiated by homeowner, he murmured aloud. Time, 4:24 a.m. He scribbled quickly. The sound of the pen scratching paper felt louder than the wind outside. Marie's voice was low. Once he comes down, I'll read the file. You'll read your statement. I will. Then we let the silence do the rest. The door knocked again, softer this time. Ruth. She stepped inside, her scarf too loose, her coat buttoned wrong. Her hands trembled as she held out a small paper bag. I brought muffins. Lena couldn't help it, she smiled. Just a little. Of course you did. Ruth looked around. Her eyes landed on the cocoa, the folder, then Lena's cheek. She stopped breathing for a moment. Nora. Lena shook her head. Not now. What do you need me to do? Sit. Watch. Remember. Ruth nodded slowly. She sat beside Marie, her hands folded tight in her lap. The three of them, lawyer, sheriff, sister. A triangle of truth. Sheriff Reeves glanced toward the stairs. You know they're here? Not yet. Marie glanced at her watch. He'll be down soon. Lena poured cocoa into a cup and placed it in front of Ruth. Have something warm, she said softly. Ruth's hand trembled as she reached for it. Are you sure you can do this? She whispered. Lena's voice didn't shake. Not once. I already did. The room grew still again. That kind of still that settles in the space between heartbeats and thunder. Upstairs, the sound of a bed shifting. A floorboard creaked. A sigh, long, dragging, heavy with the weight of a man who still believed he had time. Remember, Lena said quietly, her voice like steel hidden in silk. No one speaks until I start. Marie closed her folder. Sheriff Reeves clicked his pen. Ruth's fingers locked tighter around her cup. Footsteps neared the stairs. Each one sounded like it would break the wood in half. Then a shadow moved across the hall. Jamie. Wrinkled shirt. Unshaven. One sock. He rubbed his face and yawned. He didn't see them at first. Just her. Just Lena. Morning, Ma, he said, smiling. You're up early. She didn't answer. He walked toward the table, oblivious. Smells good, he said, reaching for the cup. Maybe you finally learned to. He froze mid-sentence. His eyes found Marie. Then Caleb. Then Ruth. His smile vanished. What is this? Lena met his gaze, calm and unshaken. This is morning. His brow furrowed. What? This, she said again, is where silence ends. In the next part, words begin. Truth is spoken. Silence has nowhere left to hide. Jamie stood frozen in the doorway, half-yawned breath caught in his throat. His eyes darted between them. Marie, Sheriff Reeves, Ruth, then back to Lena, sitting at the head of the table like she had a gavel hidden in her spine. What is this? Jamie repeated, his voice louder now, a crack of fear hiding behind it. Lena didn't blink. Sit down, Jamie. He gave a single sharp laugh. You're not serious. Sheriff Reeves didn't move. He simply said, calm as a slow burn, it's a request. Not a choice. Jamie's posture changed. His smile was gone now. His chest rose once, deep and angry. You think you can threaten me? In my own house. Marie spoke this time, cool and even. It's not your house. Jamie's jaw twitched. What did you say? You heard me, she said, eyes locked on his. He turned to Lena, eyes wide. You told them that? That I don't live here. She finally stood, slowly, her voice flat. You live here by grace, Jamie, not by right. His head jerked toward the table. And this, what is this? Paperwork? Proof of what? That you're done pretending to care. I'm done pretending, period. He stared at her, then laughed again. Too loud this time. On Christmas, this is your big show. Sheriff Reeves shifted his stance. Careful, Marie murmured, not looking at Jamie. You're unraveling too fast. Jamie's face flushed. He started pacing, arms flailing, just enough to send one of the cocoa cups wobbling. You've lost it, all of you, he muttered. You think you're saints. You think this is justice. No, Lena said. This is clarity. His fists clenched. You're all against me. No, she said, stepping toward him, one deliberate foot at a time. We're awake. The silence that followed could have shattered glass. Jamie pointed at her again, finger trembling. You think this makes you strong? Lena's voice was soft. No, it makes me done. He blinked. She didn't stop. Done being afraid. Done walking on eggshells in my own home. His mouth opened. Nothing came out. Marie leaned forward, eyes flicking to Lena. Mrs. Walsh, she said, her voice smooth and solid. Please confirm for the record, these are your signatures? Yes. And you understand these documents are finalized today? I do. Sheriff Reeves marked his notebook again. Time, he said, 5:58 a.m. Ruth finally whispered, What's finalized? Marie didn't even turn her head. Ownership transfer. Jamie snapped. Transfer of what? Lena looked him in the eye. Everything you thought was yours. He laughed, but it cracked midway, like glass under pressure. You can't do that. Marie's voice never wavered. It's signed. It's filed. And notarized, the sheriff added. Jamie stepped back. You're all serious. Yes, Lena said. He rubbed his temple, like the moment might vanish if he closed his eyes hard enough. You can't be this cold, he whispered. Lena's breath didn't shake. I tried warm. You didn't listen. His chest rose and fell faster now. You'll regret this. She shook her head. No, you will. Jamie slammed both palms on the table. The sound echoed and dropped like a gavel. No one moved. Not even Ruth. Marie closed her folder slowly. We're done here. Sheriff Reeves nodded once. Understood. Jamie stared at Lena. You planned this? Yes. Since when? She didn't blink. Since the first bruise you left. His body froze, eyes burning. He took a step back, not angry, just small now. You're not my mother anymore, he said. Lena tilted her head slightly. I still am. I'm just not your shield. The clock struck 6. Sharp. Final. Sheriff Reeves looked at her. You want to proceed? Yes. Marie stood, pressing the folder to her chest. Then by law and by witness, your decision stands. Lena gave a quiet nod. By conscience, too. Jamie's lips trembled. Mom, please. She didn't answer. Marie turned toward him. You hit her. That's the record. The sheriff added, and it's logged. Ruth whispered, her voice trembling like her hands. Nora! Lena turned to her. It's over. The silence in the room wasn't peaceful. It was surgical. Jamie sat down slowly. He stared at the cocoa cup in front of him. It wasn't steaming anymore. He spoke into it, his voice barely there. Merry Christmas. Lena sat across from him. She answered gently. Exactly. Next. Jamie tries to talk his way out. But the room has already made its decision. Jamie sat hunched over, eyes on the cold cocoa like it might still hold warmth. His voice, when it came, was quieter now, uncertain. You planned all this. Just to humiliate me? No, Lena said, voice calm, firm. To protect myself. He scoffed. From your own son? Marie stepped in before Lena could reply. From your violence. Jamie's mouth opened, then shut. He swallowed, jaw twitching. You think I'm some kind of monster. No, Lena whispered, almost kindly. I think you're a man who believes consequences won't come if he says sorry fast enough. He looked up at her sharply. Fine. I'm sorry. There. Happy. Ruth's hands curled around her cup, like she was holding on to something more than cocoa. That's not sorry, she said softly. Shut up, Jamie snapped, eyes flashing. Sheriff Reeves took one slow step forward. You raise your voice again, and this becomes formal. Jamie leaned back, his hands trembling now. He forced out a laugh. Go ahead. Arrest me. Ruin your perfect little Christmas. Marie's voice was ice. You ruined it the moment your hand left her face. The silence that followed wasn't passive. It judged him. He turned on her. Don't talk like I'm not in the room. You weren't last night either, she said. The words hit him like a slap. He looked back at Lena. You'll regret this. She inhaled once, slow and quiet. I've had regrets. You're not one of them anymore. Jamie slammed his hand on the table again. Slower this time. Tired. Lost. You're not my mother. Lena stood. I am. I'm just not your victim. His mouth opened again, but there was nothing behind it. Sheriff Reeves turned to Marie. We're at time. She nodded. Let's conclude. Jamie looked around the room, still grasping for anything. Control. Sympathy. A lie he could hide in. Conclude what? Marie spoke with the certainty of someone who had done this before. Mrs. Walsh has legally transferred this house to Winter Haven Women's Shelter, effective immediately. The color drained from his face. What? The property is no longer yours to claim. He looked at Lena wide-eyed. You gave away my inheritance. She stepped closer, steady as ever. No, she said. I gave away your weapon. Jamie stood again, slower this time. His shoulders sagged. The air felt heavier now, like even breathing required effort. You're insane. Maybe, Lena said, but I'm safe. Sheriff Reeves took one step closer, his voice low, steady. You need to calm down, son. I'm not your son. Good, the sheriff said. Makes this easier. Jamie's eyes flitted to the papers, to Ruth's tearful face, to Marie's unblinking stare, and finally to Lena. You all planned this. Marie didn't flinch. We planned safety. Jamie's voice dropped, no louder than a sigh. You're dead to me. Lena didn't move. Then I'll finally rest. A soft gasp escaped Ruth's mouth. Marie gently closed her folder. Sheriff Reeves placed his hand on the cuffs hanging from his belt, but didn't draw them yet. Jamie sat again, chest heaving. What happens now? Lena pulled Harold's notebook closer, flipping to the newest entry. Her fingers brushed the fresh ink. She looked at him. Now you face what you made. Jamie's laugh returned, hollow and bitter. You think anyone will care? Marie didn't look up from her folder. The law already does. Sheriff Reeves looked to Lena. You ready for the next step? She nodded once. No words, just a breath. Jamie shook his head. You can't just erase me from your life like this. Lena leaned forward, both palms flat on the table. Watch me. His lips parted again. No words came. Ruth whispered, he's shaking. I know, Lena said. It's the sound of truth. The clock ticked. 6:42 a.m. Justice, patient and heavy, filled the room. Next, the arrest. The farewell. And a door closes, not in anger but in final peace. Jamie sat slumped in the chair like a child caught in a lie too big to fix. No more shouting. No more pacing. His hands, the same ones that had struck her, now rested limp on the table like they no longer knew what to hold. Lena stood still, not with pride, not with anger, but with something colder, something steadier. Truth. Sheriff Reeves gently removed the cuffs from his belt, the metal clicking softly. Jamie Walsh, he said quietly, please stand. Jamie didn't move. He stared at Lena like she would still save him. Mom, he whispered. She didn't answer. Her gaze didn't soften. Only her voice, calm, final. The sheriff spoke to you. Slowly, Jamie rose. His legs trembled. The bruised arrogance he had worn all night peeled off him like wet paper. Sheriff Reeves turned him gently. Click, click. The sound of the cuffs locking echoed louder than any scream. The most honest sound this house had heard in years. Let's go, Reeves said. Jamie turned his head, slightly, looked over his shoulder. You're letting him take me? Lena's answer came like a sigh, not of exhaustion but relief. I'm letting you go. The door opened. Cold wind rushed in, cutting across the warmth of the kitchen. Jamie stepped through it, shoulders hunched, wrists bound. Snow fell in heavy silence. The door closed. No one moved. Lena stayed near the table, hand resting on the folder that had changed everything. She looked toward the window. Jamie sat in the back of the patrol car, head bowed. He didn't resist. He didn't scream. The boy she raised. The man he became. The ghost he had turned into. Sheriff Reeves stood on the porch, boots planted in fresh snow, his voice steady. He's under custody. Charges, domestic assault. Restraining order follows within the hour. Lena nodded. Thank you. He didn't speak, Reeves added. Not a word. Just quiet. Marie stepped up behind her. You want to say something before he goes? Lena shook her head. Not today. She watched the blue lights flash across the yard. No sirens, no speed. Just a slow crawl away from a life that had closed its own chapter. Ruth joined her at the door, coat drawn tight. Nora, she whispered. He's still your son. Lena didn't look away from the snow. Yes, she said, voice calm. And that's why I let him go properly. Marie adjusted the folder under her arm. He'll serve time. Maybe counseling. The system will take over now. Good, Lena replied. It's time someone else handled him. The patrol car faded down the long driveway. Its tire tracks cut clean lines through the snow, lines the wind would cover soon. Ruth whispered, It's so quiet. Lena took a breath that didn't shake. Quiet means peace. Marie looked at her. Are you all right? Lena didn't answer immediately. Then a small nod. I'm steady. Marie smiled faintly. You did what I would have done. Reeves' voice carried from the edge of the porch. It's time. Lena looked once more at the path behind the patrol car. Snow was already beginning to fill the tracks. It already was, she thought. They stepped back inside. The door closed behind them with a soft thud. Lena looked around the kitchen. The air was warmer again. The pie on the counter. The cocoa cups. The stain on the cloth from last night. She didn't wipe it. Marie followed her gaze and spoke gently. Evidence. No, Lena said. Memory. Ruth stepped away, picking up her purse. I think I've had enough justice for one morning. Lena gave her a quiet hug. Brief. Real. Ruth said, You're stronger than I thought. Lena replied, No. Just done pretending. Marie walked toward the door. I'll handle the last of the paperwork. You'll get the official notice by Monday. Lena nodded. Thank you. You did what you had to do. I know, Lena whispered. That's what makes it hard. Marie stepped outside, and the door clicked shut behind her. Lena stood alone again. The ticking clock filled the room. The stain on the napkin had darkened. She folded the cloth once, delicately as if touching a wound, and placed it in the trash. Clean start. She turned off the light. For the first time in years, the house didn't feel like a cage. It felt finished. The courthouse, the final signature, and a gift no one can ever take back. The morning after the arrest was pale and sharp, the sky bleached white, as if the world itself had been cleared overnight. Lena dressed slowly, not for court, for herself. She wore Harold's old gray sweater, the one with the worn elbows and quiet dignity. Her bruise had faded into something faintly purple, a memory blooming against her cheek like a final mark of truth. She didn't cover it. 8:03 a.m. The courthouse loomed quiet and low as she stepped through its old doors. The heater buzzed. The floor creaked beneath her boots. Marie was already waiting, reading from a thick folder with her glasses perched low on her nose. She didn't look up right away. "You're early," she said. "I wanted to finish it myself." Marie gestured to the seat across from her. "Sit." Lena did. Her hands rested calmly on her lap. No trembling now. Marie placed a single sheet of paper between them. "This is the final transfer form for the property. House, land, contents. You sign here, it's no longer yours." Lena nodded. "No reversal," Marie said. "You're sure?" "Yes. Even the furniture. All of it. I don't need anything that still remembers him." Marie nodded. Slower this time. "It'll help a lot of women, Lena. You know that." "That's the point." The pen felt cool in her hand. She signed her name without hesitation. The ink settled fast. No smudge. No shake. Marie stared at her. Something unreadable in her eyes. Maybe pride. Maybe heartbreak. Maybe both. "You just gave away everything." "I kept one thing." Marie waited. "Myself." Footsteps echoed in the hallway. The door opened, letting in snow-slick boots and quiet strength. Sheriff Reeves. His coat was wet with melted frost. His eyes clear. "Reports filed," he said. "Notarized. Sealed." "How is he?" "Quiet. Still." "Since the cuffs," he said gently, like silence caught up with him. Lena nodded. "He asked for me?" "Twice. But not today, right?" "Not today." He didn't press. Marie tapped the signed document lightly. "The shelter's representative signs this at noon. Then it's done." "Completely." "Completely." Lena leaned back in the chair. "Then by afternoon," she said, "that house won't belong to any of us." Sheriff Reeves gave a faint smile. "That's poetic." "No," Lena said. "It's practical." He studied her face for a moment, the bruise, the calm behind her eyes. "Any regrets?" She looked toward the window, where snow fell against the glass like whispers. "Regret is for people still trying to change the past." Marie smiled, soft but sure. "Then what's this for you?" Lena took a breath. "Restoration." The room stayed still for a moment, long enough to mean something. Then Marie stood and walked to the printer. The machine hummed to life, pushing out 2 clean copies of the form. One for Lena, one for the shelter. She stamped each with a thick red seal. The sound echoed, final and clean. She handed one to Lena. "For your records." Lena stared at the seal. It read, "Filed, County of Winterbane, December 26th. Sheriff Reeves picked up the second copy. "I'll deliver this to the shelter." "That's not necessary," Lena said. He shrugged. "Consider it part of my job." She allowed herself a small smile. "All right." Marie reached for her coat. "I'll meet you both there. We'll make it official." They walked out into the cold again. This time the air didn't sting. The courthouse bell rang behind them, soft once. The drive was short. Snow lined the road in quiet white. Winter Haven Shelter sat near the edge of town. Small, modest, warm. Women shoveled the steps out front, bundled in bright coats, laughing gently at something shared between them. Marie's car was already parked. She waved. Inside, Clara, the director, waited with a clipboard and coffee-scented hands. Her smile was tired but kind. "Mrs. Walsh," she said, voice low, "we heard what you did. Thank you." Lena answered simply, "I just gave back what should have been safe." Clara led them into her office, a space filled with mismatched chairs and soft light. Marie laid the final form on the desk. "It's official," she said. "Sign here and it's yours." Clara signed slowly, every letter careful, intentional. When it was done, she looked up at Lena. "Would you like to see the certificate?" Lena shook her head. "Just keep it safe." "You've given more than a house, Mrs. Walsh," Clara said. "You've given people a way out." Lena's eyes were steady. Then make sure no one waits as long as I did. Marie folded the papers and handed them to Sheriff Reeves. Clerk's office. He nodded and stepped out. Clara looked at Lena again. You can visit any time. It'll always be open to you. I'd rather not, Lena said gently. It should start clean. Clara nodded. Marie reached across the desk and took Lena's hand. It's done. Lena looked out the window, the snow falling like peace. I kept my promise, she whispered. The house is empty. The table cleared. Lena locks the door for the final time, with no tears, only truth. That afternoon, Lena returned to the house for the last time. The snow had stopped. The wind had calmed. The world looked finished. The driveway crunched beneath her boots. Her suitcase rolled softly behind her. No one waited. No car in the garage. No light in the windows. She reached into her coat pocket and pulled out the last key. It slid into the door like it still remembered her. The lock clicked open. The sound made her pause. All right, she whispered to herself. One last look. She stepped into the kitchen first. Everything was clean. The table was bare except for one folded napkin. The red cloth that had caught cocoa and blood the night before had been laundered, but the stain remained. A dark, quiet ring. She stood over it, staring. Her fingers hovered just above the fabric. Then she reached down, folded it carefully, and walked to the trash bin. She didn't hesitate. The cloth went in, stain inward. Clean start, she whispered. The air in the kitchen didn't smell like cinnamon anymore. It smelled like finality. She moved through the rooms, each one waiting like they knew they'd never see her again. The living room, the hallway, the faded painting Harold had bought at a yard sale still hung crooked. She straightened it without thinking. In the corner, the Christmas tree blinked faintly, its light dim and tired. She unplugged it. Silence poured in immediately, a heavier silence than before. She looked up toward the ceiling, where footsteps used to thunder. But now, nothing. She walked upstairs. Jamie's door was open. The bed was unmade. One sock still on the floor. Drawers empty. You're gone, she said quietly. Good. Her own room still held the things she couldn't part with. Harold's ring, her mother's Bible, the notebook. She placed each into her small suitcase, one by one. She caught her reflection in the mirror. The bruise was almost gone now, but her eyes, they looked different. Older? No. Steadier. You survived, she whispered. Then, after a pause, more than that, you changed. She zipped the suitcase shut. Downstairs, she placed a folded note in the center of the now bare table. On it, in her careful handwriting, just one line. This house belongs to kindness now. She placed the key on top of the note. She didn't cry. She didn't look around for one last goodbye. She simply walked to the door, took a long breath, and stepped outside. Then, without a pause, she locked it from the outside. The click echoed like a final breath. On the porch, she stood still. Through the window, the note was still visible on the table. The words sat quiet under the afternoon light. She picked up her suitcase and started down the snow-covered path. Halfway down the drive, she paused and turned back once, not to the house but to the moment. I didn't cry, she whispered to herself. I was done crying years ago. The wind moved gently, lifting the edges of her coat, carrying her words away. She reached the end of the drive. The house was already fading behind the trees and the snow. She didn't look back again. Letting go had no anthem, no applause, no fireworks. It was quiet, and still, somehow, it was the loudest form of strength she had ever known. A letter arrives. The future answers back. And Lena discovers that justice doesn't always echo, but sometimes it returns. 1 month later, Lena woke to the sound of tires on gravel. Her new cabin sat near the lake, tucked between pine trees and silence. The world was white again, thick snow blanketing everything, like time had slowed down and buried the noise. She opened the front door. The cold rushed in, but she didn't flinch. The mailman stood at the end of the walkway, one gloved hand raised. "Mornin', ma'am," he called. "Letter for you." She stepped out in her boots, her robe pulled tight. "From where?" He checked the envelope, eyes narrowing. "State Correctional Facility." She nodded once, didn't speak. He handed it over gently like it might bite. "Take care now." She thanked him quietly, closed the door behind her, and stood in the middle of her small living room. The letter in her hand felt heavier than paper. The name on the front was shaky. Mrs. Lena Walsh. She didn't sit. Not right away. She just held it. Finally, she walked to the kitchen table, placed her tea beside her, and opened the envelope. The handwriting was unsteady, slanted, but his. Mom. She read aloud, voice barely a whisper. "I know you don't want to hear from me, but I'm learning. I think about that night every day. I hit you. I can't take that back. But you were right. Justice had to happen." Lena paused. The steam from her tea had faded. She kept reading. "They told me what you did. About the house. At first I hated it. Now I get it. You didn't destroy me. You stopped me." Her hand trembled. Not from fear, not from sadness, but something closer to release. She read the final lines, slowly, her voice catching once. "You always said silence is a kind of strength. In here, it's all I have. It's loud, Mom. Like you warned me. I'm sorry. I'm working on myself. Maybe one day you'll write back. Love, Jamie." The room didn't move. Outside, the lake was frozen solid, the snow reflecting soft light into the window. Lena folded the letter once, pressed her palm flat against it. Then she whispered, "You're finally listening." She placed it gently in the drawer next to Harold's photo. The steam from her tea had gone, but it still smelled faintly of cinnamon. She walked to the window and opened it just a little. The cold kissed her skin, sharp but clean. The letter rustled in the drawer behind her. The air shifted around her shoulders like something unseen was breathing again. Her voice was soft but certain. "Forgiveness doesn't mean return. It means I'm free." She stood there for a while, not waiting, not mourning, just being. And outside, the world kept snowing, quietly, peacefully, as if it finally understood the difference between silence that hurts and silence that heals. One final entry in the notebook, one last cup of tea, and a Christmas that finally means peace, not pain. The morning sun cracked through the frost-dusted window, turning the wooden floor golden. The lake outside was still frozen, blanketed in white. Lena sat at her small desk near the window, a wool shawl wrapped around her shoulders, a fresh cup of tea beside her, steam curling slowly like breath that didn't need to be held anymore. She reached into the drawer and pulled out Harold's notebook. The pages were worn now, familiar, trusted. She opened to the back, to where her own handwriting had begun to take up space after his. Her eyes scanned the last entry. "He hit me under the Christmas lights, but I didn't flinch." She let the words sit for a while, then picked up her pen, the same one she'd used the night everything changed. She wrote, December 25th, 1 year later. "I live in a cabin near a lake. There is no yelling, no slammed doors, just wind and snow and the sound of my own breathing. Jamie is in counseling now. He writes letters sometimes. I read them when I'm strong. I don't write back. Not yet, but I haven't thrown them away. That's enough for now." Her pen hovered, then added one more line. "I don't clean to escape anymore. I clean because I deserve beauty." She set the pen down and exhaled deeply, freely. On the windowsill sat a small plate of cinnamon cookies she'd baked that morning. No one would eat them but her. She didn't need to impress anyone anymore. This was her Christmas. She stood, walked slowly to the window and looked outside. Children laughed, distantly somewhere near the lake. Their voices didn't echo inside this home like threats. They sounded right, A car rolled past on the snowy road, its tires humming over the slush. She didn't look to see if it stopped. She didn't wonder if someone was coming. She wasn't waiting for anyone. She reached for her teacup, held it in both hands, and walked back to the desk. Harold's notebook lay open, the ink still fresh. She smiled, small, steady, and whispered toward the window. Justice isn't revenge. It's when truth finally gets the last word. The cabin clock ticked. Somewhere down the road, a church bell rang once. Lena took one slow sip of tea. Outside, the snow kept falling. But this time, it wasn't covering anything. This time, it was just beautiful. But wait, just before you go, I'm really glad you're here. If this story meant something to you, please like and subscribe to my video. It helps these quiet stories reach the hearts that need them. And remember, strength doesn't always roar. Sometimes it just quietly walks away and never looks back. Until next time, take care of yourself